You're watching / listening to RumNRasslin. This episode of Retro Nitro is, Lex Luger versus Macho Man Randy Savage. This was I believe it was January 15th, 1996 episode, which is strange. And the only reason why I say that to intro this episode and this specific match, we're spotlighting one particular match throughout the history of WCW Nitro, is it's very interesting because we have two guys here that are essentially main eventers, and they're opening a random Nitro,
which is out of the ordinary when you take it back into 1996 to do that. I mean, if you look at current wrestling, which honestly nobody really cares about in this room, but they blow off main eventers in the opening spot all the time now. So that's not out of the ordinary now. But if you're going back to this is normally where you'd have your cruiserweight division playing. Or you'd have a squash match with a new talent.
And going off that, again, we're spotlighting this, so we don't know the entirety of it, but it seems rather interesting that you're throwing two major players in here so early. But again, where are we in the history of WCW currently? So, if this was 97, 98, 99, these guys aren't opening this show.
No, definitely not. And I think because you look at 96, Nitro had just launched not that long before, so you're still trying to get that opening viewer to get them in and get them hooked.
And that was out of Mall of America, where Lex Luger came in his Gangrel impersonation before he was Gangrel. So what we have here is Macho Man and Lex. It starts off fantastic, and I say that because Macho Man was fiery, ready to go, not letting Lex in the ring, and now we're about a minute and a half into the match, and they're already working outside, working a good scheme, and you can tell they're kind of telling a story here in the matchup right now. Macho Man has typical flair kind of going on with his different style pants he's always worn with the strings on the bottom. But what we're noticing here is there's a key to this fight right now, and it's Macho Man's entire left arm.
Yeah,
is taped up. So we've got a healthy Lex Luger versus an injured Macho Man Randy Savage. So again, this is the first time we've watched this video in 20 plus years. Or this matchup. This will be very interesting. Years. So, whoa! Every time Lex takes a bump or gives a hit, he always yells, "Whoa!" He took a punch to the forehead, so he's gonna go, "Whoa!" So this is kind of interesting. As so far this matchup, it's been what I would call a typical Hogan match because no one has landed on the mat yet. It's been kicks and there we go. Kicks and punches. No slams, nothing like that. It's been a lot of strikes.
It's a Lex Luger match.
Yeah. Whoa! Wow! So
I mean, you're already in a rest hold on the ropes.
Yeah.
And you're only 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, which honestly for a Luger and Macho Man match isn't really, I would say, out of the ordinary because, let's face it, Luger was all show. He didn't have any stamina.
Yeah, and I mean, Luger was after, this is kind of that weird period for him where he's not real. I guess you could say that about Macho too, where they're not really top card yet. Kind of are, kind of not, but
they've both been there before, but they're not there right now.
Yeah, man, this is great to watch, though, just because you got Macho Man and you know what he's going to become. You know where he came from, which is unfortunate that he was on the commentary for so long when he shouldn't have been. And you got Luger here who was pushed to the moon, and people realized that was a mistake.
And yet he continuously got pushed to the moon. Even after he left the WWF at the time. WWE for people who don't know. If you don't know, I have some questions.
Yeah.
But I mean, that whole gimmick he had with the tour bus and then the narcissist and then all those things is just, he's not what you would call a great actor. So you had to put him more closer to his base personality for him to succeed, and they tried to do too many things that weren't there.
It's apparent in this matchup and most of Lex's. He's very stiff. I like to think
very wooden.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, very much so. He's not flexible, and he bumps and everything else. He's just very lines. Like everything's stiff and it's just parallel. He's not very like. It always seems like he's got a rod in his back when he works.
Very much so. I mean, and honestly, if you just watch some of the stuff that he's doing in this match, even when he moves, his back actually moves at a perpendicular. He doesn't really look like he's flexible when he moves. He looks like your tried and true bodybuilder who doesn't stretch before or after.
Whoa! Yeah, I mean, they probably plucked him out of there anyway. Whoa! Which, I mean, this is 96, looking out in the crowd. It's a filled arena, which...
I mean, early 96, you're probably looking at a taping in Nitro. There's probably 2,000 or 3,000 people there, which if you fill the arena right, you use the camera setting right, fill it with the hard cam. I mean, obviously, they're all better at it now than they were back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You could see a lot of holes. Even looking here, you can see holes in the seating on the opposite side. But, I mean, you could have had 4,000 people here, and half of them were paid, and the rest were comps just to fill it out for the taping.
Wow, look at that. I mean, 6 minutes, 50 seconds into it, Macho Man attempts an elbow drop, and I think he touched the top of the roof of the... Oh, no.
And we're up for the torture rack.
Whoa. That was a... I did not see that happening.
That ending did definitely kind of come out of nowhere.
Okay, hold on. So now the match ends unceremoniously and kind of flat. So, Andy's going. Lex does not let go of the torture. And, he just...
So he let go right before the ref was going to reverse the decision. So he get the little extra insult into injury. Which, honestly, could play to his character. And, of course, now you've got him talking into the camera, which, let's face it, when Lex Luger talks, I tend to cringe.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, with his character at the time, I think it works. Just because... he's supposed to be a blustery heel, I guess, at this point. But...
Yeah, so I think the spot here to end the matchup, the go-home, was Macho Man misses the elbow. Just misses it. Well, watching the video, Lex almost doesn't get out of the way fast enough.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost like if Macho just reached his arm, he just straightened his arm out a little bit, he could have connected with it,
right,
and they could have played off that, which is very interesting. But then the immediate follow-up was torture rack, and then it wasn't tap out.
It was pass out.
It was pass out. So the ref did a 1 count, 2 count, and then the 3 count, and then rang the bell, as if for some reason Macho Man Randy Savage was unconscious
yes,
in the torture rack. So what was it that gave him the concussed to where he couldn't respond to the referee raising his hand ever so gently while he is violently being shooken around?
Yeah, because you can tell.
Like, which part made him unconscious? Because I don't think I've ever seen anyone do a 3 count on a torture rack.
Well, I think part of that is the way the end of the match was designed. That wasn't taking into account the fact how hard Lex Luger was going to shake him.
Yeah, that's true.
He was bouncing him up and down like he was a 2-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that, does that finish, right? We're spotlighting, so we're not taking the broad spectrum here. Would you say that finish...
It was a flat finish.
Does it make Macho look weak?
I would say if you take just that match into context, it not only makes Macho look weak, but more importantly, it makes Lex look strong, which is what you need, because Macho is Macho. But Lex's always need that little extra to make him look fearsome, and he just didn't have that reputation to really go off of. Like, Macho had the 80s to go off of, even the early 90s. I mean, he has that. He's Macho. So if he's passed out from this, his arm injury is still a thing. He's all taped up. I mean, that's going to wear on him. I mean, yeah, it's kind of believable. It makes him look weak, but it's Macho. He can come back from that. Whereas if you have Lex losing a way like that, that's going to hurt him.
So would you say that it made Macho look weak because he got the 3 count on him? Or would you say that it would have been weaker if he would have tapped? So we're pulling the old John Cena here. Never give up because I don't tap.
I think, honestly, when you're in that situation, going the 3 count was a safe route.
I think so, too. Yeah.
But, I mean, it looked ridiculous because of how much Lex was shaking. I mean, the torture rack in itself, the move itself, I mean, it's not conducive to a 3 count as far as like a sleeper hold tap out or count out, whatever. But like if you're looking at it like in the manner of tapping out, that makes more sense. So I think they just kind of went with that finish, as you said, to not make Macho look weaker. Which, in all honesty, it's freaking Macho. You could have had him tap out, and you could have played it off like when he did the elbow drop, he hurt his back.
Yeah.
I mean, if the commentators would have sold it properly, which honestly we weren't listening to the commentators, we were just watching.
Which sometimes is good.
Because sometimes the commentaries, right. But like if they sell it right, you could sell the 3 count
on TV. So in-person viewers, I think the other part too is again spotlighting. So we're just spotlighting this one particular match, not the entire storyline.
Right.
So saying that he hit the elbow with his right, which was his quote unquote healthy elbow, it would have made more sense eventually if it was a work or a shoot that he was injured. They should have made it his elbow drop elbow.
Yep.
Right? That would have made more sense because this is fact. Then they could have made it a target, which they, Lex didn't really target it at all in the match, to be honest.
No, he didn't at all.
There wasn't really any one specific point where he was just bashing.
Well, Lex is not exactly a technical worker, so that kind of makes sense for the way the match played out. Now, if you would have had him in there against, say, Bret Hart, he totally would have been ripping that arm to shreds. But, again, like you said, to spotlight this whole match, I think the biggest thing to take away is, number one, Lex gets the win, which, let's face it, Lex needs it more than Macho. And 2, I would say the overall match would be very stereotypical of Lex and Macho, so you're not going to grade it based on the luchador style. You're going to grade it based off of how did it actually look. And I mean, Macho is an expert at selling, so he is going to make Lex look good anyway.
I think going for the time frame, going for where those guys were, knowing now where they were in their careers at that time, as an opening match, if that match right now were to happen, current wrestling state, that would be a good opener. It would be a good opener because it has really good key ingredients. You've got good guy, you've got bad guy, clear as day. Who is who, right?
Right.
So the beginning of the match started as Macho wouldn't let Lex in. We don't see that. And that's storytelling, okay? That's story. That's investment. So as soon as we didn't know what was going on whatsoever. We spotlighted this. But as soon as it started, we didn't have to. We knew as viewers.
You could clearly tell Macho was angry with Lex.
And then it progressed, and then you could see the narcissist, the Lex come out, and then he held the torture rack too long. So that right there, that one match, it was 8 minutes long.
Something like that, yeah.
It was a great perspective of what was going on.
With 1996, Macho and Lex.
Absolutely. And nowadays, if you get an opening match on any wrestling show, it's just, who are you? Who are you?
It's a spot fest.
Go out there and do some flippies.
Which, in and of itself, in the right context, can be entertaining. But, I mean, you do want to start your crowd with a bang. Yeah. And I think throwing Macho and Lex out to start, even if they're in the part of their career, that's still a good way to open. People are always going to pop for Macho.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing with that match, too, is, like you alluded to before, especially at that time, there were ratings, just that's all they were chasing was ratings. And you got Tony Schiavone, who else was on there at that time? 96.
I'm pretty sure Bischoff was still doing commentary at 96.
So you have Bischoff on there, and then
I don't know if Mongo wasn't doing commentary just
no,
yet. That was
neither,
like 98,
yeah,
wasn't it?
And so your commentators can play into it.
Mike Tenay was the other one.
Yeah, which I love Mike Tenay. He's absolutely phenomenal, so underrated because he was pivotal with the mid card and lower card in WCW, which was. I would take the mid and low card of WCW, except late 99, 2000, and say they could compete with a lot of upper carders now, hands down.
No, absolutely.
So,
that was their strength.
But I would say in this matchup specifically, at the end of it, once it concluded, the cutaway to the announce table, those guys could conclude and finish that story and add to it because they were so great at storytelling and adding to it. And then what would they do then? They'd keep you up here, and then here we go into another match, right? Mm-hmm. So you're already up here, and then the crowd sitting there. All right, well, we just watched this, and bam, here we go with another matchup. So,
But I think when you look at the wrestling back then versus wrestling now, once you started to get into more of that Attitude-esque era, you started to add more of the talking segments, more of the storytelling, less of the matches. And I think it's all about the mixture and the right amount of context for whatever your 2-hour, 3-hour show is going to be, is to have it mixed in the right spot. I mean, if you listen to any of the guys from inside the industry, they always say you got to have a let me up and a let me down so that you can keep the crowd going. Because if you're always running at 100, you're going to redline and blow your engine.
yeah.
And I mean, I think that's a good start because the match wasn't overly slow. It had a good pace.
Yeah. It wasn't rushed.
No. I mean, they had 8 minutes. I mean, we've watched other matches on this show where it's a 2-minute match and you're like, okay, what happened?
Yeah,
I didn't even have time to start my drink, let alone finish it.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't terrible. I would say it's definitely run of the mill.
I'd say it's a mediocre match. I mean, it's good for just when you look at it. I would say it's like, what? If you're going on a 1 to 10 scale, it's a 5.
Yeah.
2 to 5 or 1 to 5 scale, it's a 2.5.
Yeah, it wasn't anything. I mean, yeah. I mean, it'll just, like if I'm sitting there heating up Hot Pockets, I mean, I'm going to set the timer to 1:40 or whatever, and then I'm going to hit start, and then I'm just going to lean over the counter and then watch TV for a few minutes and then wait till my Hot Pocket's done.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to draw me to the TV.
It's a distraction.
Yeah.
It's a distraction match.
Right, yeah.
It keeps you entertained while you're watching it, but if you miss it, you're not going to miss it.
And you know what? And for that, we thank you.